These are the days, these are the easy days when you do this, when you just try, like I do here, to be an independent voice for common sense, when you're surrounded by all this nonsense and a corrupt media and people who are just completely twisted by that same media, and the Trump derangement people, the syndrome victims that you deal with every single day in your life. These are the easy days. These are the great days. And I mean this. I cannot say this with any more sincerity. Yesterday was one of the greatest days that White House, our White House, the people's house, has ever had in its history. Top 3, maybe, in American history. I mean that. And here's the amazing part, and it wasn't just about the announcement of a peace deal in the Middle East. And American hostages coming home from all over the world. It also was for the first time in, God, I don't know, generations, where independent voices were heard with this roundtable they had with these independent journalists. And I've got an outline of them too, and why and who you should follow on this. It was an incredible day. But here's the big question. Will all this good news, will this be the final cure? Will this be the thing that knocks common sense into the Trump derangement syndrome victims? No, probably not. But that's okay. It's still good news, and that's not going to dampen your spirit. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to get to. And I'm just warning you, a lot of the clips I'm going to play for you today, whether you're just listening audio only or just watching here live or on the replay, they're long, but they're completely worthy of paying attention to for the entire thing. But thanks for being here for this day. I appreciate it. My name is Bill Adams. If you're new to us, this is the Wicked Radio live stream. Always lives on a podcast everywhere else, including audio only, but I cannot wait to get through it. Here is the moment it happened. If you ever saw the play Hamilton, the room where it happened, that's what happened. So this was, and this is relevant to the story as well, more on this later, this was in the middle of the round table of independent journalists. That alone would have been one of the best days for the Trump White House and the administration 2.0. But in the middle of it, you all saw this now, massive story, #1 trending in the world, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, in his 4 other jobs, by the way. Is he the most improved player? I think he is. Anyway, walks in and he whispers in President Trump's ear. It's got to be something big, right? So you'll hear the reporters in the background, the mainstream reporters going crazy. What did he say? What did he say? Well, here was the big announcement. Here's exactly what he said.
Criminal conspiracy.
Okay. I'm just given. Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly, so I will take a couple of more questions.
Uh-oh, here it is. The day that so many people have prayed for and wished for and wanted to happen. It looks like it's going to happen. Boy, and it sure did. Now, more details on that coming up in just a couple of minutes. As luck would happen, there were many families of hostages who are still being held over there that were in Washington, D.C. Most of these folks you're going to hear from were Israeli. They were meeting with Howard Lutnick. He's Trump's big negotiator guy. They were in town in Washington, D.C. They were there this week to mark the 2nd anniversary of the attack on Israel and the events that led up to this. Again, 2 years. 2 years almost to the day when it happened. And they were on the phone with the president, who got to tell them that their loved ones were coming home. Again, a little bit long, and you'll just hear Trump in the background on the phone. It's worth listening.
I want to say something. Is that all right? All right, hold on. President Trump, you have the best crowd in the world. What do you guys have to say to President Trump?
Thank you.
Thank
you very much, everybody.
You did it!
You did it!
Thank you.
This is amazing. Mr. President, we believe in you. We know you've done so much for us over the past, since you became a president, and even before that. And we trust you'll fulfill the mission until every hostage, every 48 of the hostages are home. Thank you so much. Blessed be the peacemakers.
God bless you, Mr. President. God bless America.
Thank you very much. You just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
You heard him there. You heard a lot of interesting things there. The president said there at the end of the clip, the hostages, again, 48, more on that in a second, 48 hostages coming home on Monday. That's amazing. And I think the second most important thing, you heard one of the family members say right there, blessed be the peacemakers. If we don't have a situation If history doesn't look back, I don't care whether you voted for him or not. I don't care. This is just, we're talking factual now, right? Get away from the Trump derangement syndrome people for at least one day. We can watch to see how they react later on. If history does not record this guy as the peace deal maker, then we know everything has been corrupt, all of it. And is it so insane to ask the question now, and I mean right now, today, is this not, if this isn't worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize, even to get to this point, and make no mistake, let's be adults in the room, this could still fall apart tomorrow, today, anything. We could find out that there's, wait a minute, there's a missing number, we're not getting 48 back. It could fall apart, but to get to this point, is it not worthy to ask the question, isn't this Nobel Peace Prize worthy? Yeah, it is. In fact, all right, let's just go to what the mainstream reporters, the people who have been talking about this for the longest time, have said. This is the main head correspondent in the Middle East, ABC's Ian Pennell. What did he say about it last night?
Make no mistake, it looks like President Trump has actually pulled off something here that many presidents before him have failed to do.
I mean, it's how do you deny that now? How do you deny that? Again, even to get to this point, and even with this good news and this peace announcement, which has been, 2 years in the making, and there's a lot that went on behind this. I mean, if there are history professors or political scientists worth their salt in Ivy League schools, they should be writing theses on this and exactly how it got it done. Because there was, believe it or not, even though there's plenty of people on the right as well who'd love to say that Trump is a puppet of Israel, that whole thing that's popping up now, or he's a patsy in this whole deal, or he loves this, violence, he just wants to take out Palestinians. All of that crap, which just got cleared up yesterday. If they were worth their salt, they will write about, truthfully, how we put pressure on in a 20-point peace deal every single player involved, including Netanyahu, all of them. Every single one of them. This was maximum pressure exerted by the United States of America in our might. That's what got this done. But still a long way to go. Long way to go. What are we talking about here? And you heard some of the family members say it. 48 hostages. And this is the horrifying part, if it's not horrifying enough. Not all of them are alive. Our main concern, being Americans, my main concern, America first. We've got 7 Americans who need to come home. And 4 of them are expected to be alive. I don't know if we're going to see the other bodies. I don't know. The 48, 20 are expected to be alive. Those are the latest estimates from, I guess, people in the know who have looked at this. But regardless of what happens from this point on, I think we got to take this moment and look at it and say this is one of the most historic days in American history to get to this point. You heard it there. That's ABC's main top correspondent, Foreign Affairs correspondent, Ian Pennell. Say it right there. A lot of presidents have tried to, issue in some kind of accord, get some kind of a peace deal done before this. Nobody got it done. He did. As much he's going to brag about it, he should. He absolutely 100% should. Now, will they tell the truth? Will this story be told truthfully? It may be so impactful, possibly, depending on what happens here in the next couple of days and weeks. I can't wait for Monday. Boy, is that going to be a big news day. Depending on what happens, it may be too big, it may be too successful for them to lie about it this time. Truthfully. I mean, that may actually be the case. But, the Trump derangement syndrome people now, the people who are just so twisted, that is there's another thing that academia needs to look into and actually accept it as a real syndrome. It is real. There are people whose brains have been so broken, my angle, the media did this to them. The media did this, mainstream media. More on them in a second, too. There is people so twisted. You're going to have people in your life today. You'll hear from them. They'll try. It's not going to last long, but they're going to try to somehow dampen the spirit and the good nature and the spirituality of this. They'll try. And it's a litmus test. It really is. Those are the people who somehow will be unhappy about this, about peace. Those are the people who are so beyond broken they cannot be fixed. It's like a litmus test for sanity, I think, because we're here. This was the moment. Can they be fixed? I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be fascinating to see. It just is. And again, don't get mad at them. Don't lash out at them. You have to see them as broken. People that look at this and say, oh, well, it's not real peace and he's not. And they're out there. You know they're thinking it right, but they're spinning right now. They're trying to come up with some kind of an angle on how this is a horrible thing because Trump did it. You know they're there. Maybe you've dealt with them already, unfortunately. I don't know. Don't get mad at them. The media broke these people. And some of them will come back. It's possible. Some of them will come back. Some of them will see common sense. The ones that are honest to you and still have a soul will tell you, yeah, you know what? I can't stand the guy, but this is pretty good. You right? Those people you can deal with. But some will be broken. You just know they will. But I don't know. We'll see. So is it a cure for Trump derangement syndrome? Peace? Peace in the Middle East? No, probably not. Not completely. But I think it's finally a time where you can look at this and say that's a real thing. That's a psychological condition to be so twisted that you cannot be in favor of peace because who brokered the deal? I think we're at that point. All right, here's another reason why. I mean, you talk about a day at the White House. This is why I say it was at least top 3. You know, I think you'd have to put the end of World War II, the end of other wars, other peace deals that were announced. This is top 3 of all time in that house, which, let's not forget, is our house. It's the people's house, the White House. That's what it was meant to be. If a peace deal in the Middle East was announced and hostages coming home, including American hostages, wasn't enough, I would have put this one of the biggest days regardless, even if that didn't happen, because this was a day that independent journalists, independent people, and you should all follow them, got their say and got their day at the White House. This was massive. It was a round table. This was the actual event that was going on when you saw Marco Rubio walk into the room and whisper in Trump's ear that it looks like we have a peace deal. It was a round table with independent journalists who finally got their say in what they've been reporting, what they've been talking about, and they got to tell their stories about what's really going on with the left-wing violence in these streets. And they got to do it, not only in front of the president and the administration, they got to do it in front of the mainstream media members, too, and they got to speak out to them directly and say, you've been calling us liars. This was incredible. And it included a peace deal announcement in the middle of it. Oh, so good. All right, here's the announcement. Here's one of those, and I'll list all these independent journalists for you because these are all people you should follow. But here's the first one. I think I have his last name correctly. Jonathan Cho. He was walking into the round table. This is before all the big news happened. He was the one who, and he does a good job kind of like setting the scene of what he's walking into.
Hey guys, it's been a whirlwind 48 hours. Just the other day, I was in Portland, Oregon, covering an Antifa direct action.
Smoke is now being deployed.
Now I'm in Washington, D.C., invited alongside a group of other independent journalists to attend an Antifa roundtable with President Trump. We're going to brief him about how these domestic terrorists work and, of course, share our own personal experiences covering these nut jobs on the front lines.
And that's exactly what he did. And you heard him say it there. Independent journalists. And this is why this is so important. Now, it goes without saying that the term journalist and independent should be assumed. We all know what's happened over the past, 50. I'll put it conservatively at 50 years, where media, journalism has been completely corrupted and completely tainted. And that's how we got to this point. But those corrupted, tainted media journalists were in the room while the independent journalists got to talk. It's a little bit long, too, but here's a guy you need to listen to. And I'll list all of these folks here in a second. This guy's name is Cam Higbee. Listen, he's one of these independent journalists at the round table, and he described what he deals with every single day. And while he's doing it, trying to tell the story of what's really going on in the streets because the mainstream media has not done its job. Beyond that, beyond not doing its job, it's gone completely overboard to be corrupted and lie about what's really happening. He described the situation, and he said it right in their face.
When I leave my house to go to work, I am violently assaulted. I've had guns pulled on me. I've been bear sprayed. I've been beaten down. I've been almost killed. So my question for all of you is, how would you feel if every time you showed up to work, masked militants tried to kill you? Because that's how we feel. That's our lived reality. And you guys go and tell us that we're liars, the riots aren't that bad, right? I've never seen any of you guys on the ground. In fact, I've never seen anybody representing the companies you work for on the ground.
That's amazing. And what he said was, audio was a little low. Sorry about that. Cam Higbee was saying, every single day I go to work as an independent journalist, I'm threatened with violence. Not only that, and he got to say this is the greatest part. He got to say this right to these corrupt, disgusting mainstream media members to their faces. And despite all this, me telling the truth, you call me a liar and a right-wing fanatic and every other name in the book because he dares expose their corruption and he dares tell the truth of what's going on in the streets. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And again, coming up, I'll list all of these independent journalists. Here was another one that was interesting, and this is long. It's worth listening to every single bit of it. Brandy Cruz, another one of the independent journalists that's on there, and she talked about her own, and it ties into what we're talking about, her own case of Trump derangement syndrome. Because she is a great example of being one of those mainstream media journalists who left that to become an independent. Here's what she said about it. I love this. Here's what she said about it.
I'm living proof that you can recover from TDS. I had strong Trump derangement syndrome for probably 8 years. This is one of the reasons I recovered from it. And by the way, it's much better to not have TDS. I'm happier, I'm healthier, more successful. I even think I got a little more attractive after I got rid of my Trump derangement syndrome. Yes. You know, I'm a reporter in Seattle, and frankly, I could not care any less what any of you have to say about this meeting. Could not care any less. We're not here for you. I'm not here to convince any of you that Antifa is a real thing, because if you have not come to that conclusion by now, you are never going to come to that conclusion because you don't want to see it. And you're going to go and you're going to say it's a bunch of right-wing conservative influencers who are here spinning a tale. I was one of you. I was a mainstream reporter in Seattle for 10 years. I was a TV reporter on the streets doing my job, and I was still assaulted by Antifa.
I don't, they're going to try. They have nothing. You got to understand something. These people, the reporters that were in the room that work for the main networks, and they were all there. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, all of them, even like Newsmet, they were all there listening to this. And they're going to try because they have nothing else. They're still going to report on this roundtable meeting that happened and still say it was a bunch of right-wing, lunatic, fanatic reporters lying to the country about this, saying that Antifa and left-wing violence exists. They'll still try. How does anybody still believe them now? How? How does it? You heard their stories directly. You heard it. They're going to try, but it was an amazing, amazing day, not just for the peace deal, but for independent voices in this country, because most of us are exactly that. I say it all the time. Most of us are just independent people trying to live our lives, and you wake up every single day and you read a news story and you're like, what now? Just trying to live my life. You got people who are far left. You've got the 5% there. You got the people who are far right, 5% there, 90% of us in the middle just trying to live our lives. That's it. And finally, for the first time, I'll say in decades, you heard those voices. So who are those people in the room? And I think this is important, and I'll post this later on if you're driving around or something, have a chance to write it down. Who are those independent journalists in the room? And I believe this truly. I think you should follow every single one of them. Who were they? Nick Sorter, it's at Nick Sorter, on the ground reporting in Portland. He was just, assaulted, by the way, and the Portland cops. This was an amazing story. They did nothing. They charged him. So you've also got this element in those cities where the cops completely back down and show favoritism to this left-wing violence. That's an actual true story happening too, that these people have been trying to tell us for years. Cam Higby, you heard from him. Jonathan Cho, it's Choe. Andy No, NGO. This guy has been reporting on Antifa probably for the longest, and he's actually got it done. Here's another one. Katie Daviscourt. She's interesting. She is, you might have seen this story recently. She got hit with a flagpole here recently, struck in the face in Portland, covering that. James Klug, KLUG. Savannah Hernandez. Nick Shirley. Brandy Cruz, that's the former TDS sufferer you heard just right there. And Julio Rosas. I'm going to list all of these people that you should follow because this is how you get real news. These are true independent journalists. And it was a great, great day for independent voices because that's what most of us are. I mean, the bottom line is most of us have just been, living common values every single day. You're patriotic, you work hard, you want lower taxes, you want law and order, and all of a sudden we all woke up one day, many years ago, and they started calling us right-wing. And we all had the same reaction. What the hell just happened here? But that's what they did. And don't ever let them call you that ever again. Be an independent. Be an independent voice and think for yourself. And because of these brave independent journalists, now you can do that. was a great day. All right, peace deal. Let's keep an eye on it. Let's keep an eye on hope for the absolute best. Hope and pray that there's more people alive coming home to their homes, to their loved ones, to their family members than even expected. But there's 48 in all, 7 Americans. Let's hope this goes through because this was an amazing day. You know, again, the other takeaway is a great litmus test for Trump derangement syndrome. You hear people that still hate this. They're right somehow against this peace deal because Trump brokered it. I think you got some broken people on your hands. I don't know if they're coming back. But many other people will be honest. It's a great day. Enjoy it. Make it a wicked awesome day. I'll talk to you tomorrow.